What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. In today's episode, I sit down with Preston Chatmon. He is incredible, working two jobs as a part-time police officer and a painting business owner, and he is taking his business by storm. He's got a great team, and he also is just really motivated to improve. And I love his spirit about business, and we really zeroed in on some areas that we just shed some light on some areas that I thought could best serve him to really give him a strategy for pricing his jobs and really just understanding the job costing aspects. So if these are some areas that you feel as though would be beneficial to you, you're going to absolutely love this business breakthrough. So it starts right now. The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right, they're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener, it's so much better, and that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets Podcast. What's going on, everyone? I'm here with Preston Chatmon, Masters Painting, newest Dripjobs member. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you giving us a shot. How do you like it so far?
Absolutely love it. There's nothing I don't like about it.
That's awesome, man. So we solved a lot of problems. I'm so happy about that. We got to talking. You're growing your business. Now, I think you told me you have 4 guys working for you.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So let me ask you this, man. When you look at your business and you look at any area of your business, administrative, production, marketing, and sales, what's that area of your business that you're just wanting to really zero in on? What's that area that you're thinking, man, how do I get over this hump?
So I think there's a tie between the marketing and the sales. Definitely marketing and sales.
The marketing and the sales side. Okay. So how are you getting your business right now, man?
So really, you've got a word of mouth, and we have a lot of positive, I guess a positive outlook on Facebook. So when someone is on like the local bridge platform or marketplace and they ask for a painter or painting company, we get tagged a lot that way. And then Angie's leads.
Okay, so you do a little Angie leads. So I like that. So honestly, I think you're well balanced. I think do you feel as though you're not getting enough leads? I mean, or do you feel that you're at a good pace? How long are you booked out for right now?
Right now, honestly, maybe a month.
About a month. That's good. Yeah. That's really good. That tells me that it's time to grow, though, right? So have you ever had a business that had more than 4 painters at a time?
Yes, we've needed. We've had a few different jobs where we've needed more than the 4.
Did you bring in a subcontractor crew, or did you bring in? Okay, that's how you did it. Got it.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Cool. So when it comes to finding employees, what's your strategy?
So traditionally, it's just we ran Indeed. I found a couple of guys through Indeed. Out of the few guys that we tried out, we kept one. And then there was a local company here where I'm from in Polk County, and it was a construction. It was like a construction temp to hire agency where they would, kind of do the deciphering, and we have another guy through there. So kind
of like a temp agency you went through.
Yes.
Got it. So the 4 guys you have with you now, do they work together usually, or do you split them up?
They work together right now. I would like to be able to split them up. Yes. Sir.
Yes. So if you split them up, you and I both know, and you've been doing this a while. I think you said your dad started the business a long time ago, or, and you've seen this. 2 guys is kind of hard on exteriors, but 3 guys is okay. Would you agree?
Yes, I do.
So would you also agree that you probably need to make 2 hires to do that?
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like establishing like leadership in the business, do you have anyone that you consider like a project manager? You're sitting in a coffee shop right now. I don't know if the guys are working, but do you have somebody that's they're at work? Do you have anyone that you would consider a project manager?
Yes, he would be probably my project manager or my lead. His name is Mike, and he actually used to own his own company, but it just got too much for him.
That helps. So he understands what it takes and respects that, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Awesome. So who's the next guy up? Do you have someone else that you would trust to be on their own?
And truth be told, actually, I have one guy. He's my brother. Actually, he's a
Okay.
phenomenal painter, and I think it's just a maturity factor with him. To be honest, he's
Sure.
older, but it's just he hasn't like proven himself because of just timeliness and things of that nature. But he would be the
Tough
next
spot for
person
you
up.
because you want him to be in that position, right? And he would probably do well in that position. But what I've learned is that like that position is going to set the tone for anyone that's working underneath him.
Absolutely
It's
correct.
going to
Yes,
set
sir.
the tone. If the guy in charge is late, that gives permission to everyone else that being late is okay.
Yes,
You
sir.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Growth can sometimes be inhibited by our family members. You know that. And that's happened to me. So I could say that.
Right.
How do you feel as though he could step up? Do you feel as though if you have that conversation and say, look, this is the next step. I'm going to get 3 guys and we're going to try this out. You're going to be in charge. You think that'll do it?
That may do it. I don't know. And the only reason I say I don't know is because I haven't given him
That
the
opportunity?
trust. Yes.
What are you using to keep that time tracking accountable? Do you have an app that you're using where people clock in?
So we have one person, which he's actually the person that we got from the construction temp agency that now he's
Yeah.
full time with us. He's responsible for reporting to. We have another family member that she handles all of the books and time. But also I have the GPS on the truck. So they all ride together. So I know when they get to the job sites. I know, when the truck leaves.
Okay. So where do they meet in the morning?
So then traditionally they meet at we have a storage facility that we use to keep our equipment in
Ah,
the truck. So they meet there and then they leave from there. So they'll meet up, grab what they need out of the
what
storage,
time do they
grab the
meet in the
truck.
morning?
8.
8 o'clock. So they're not getting
Yeah.
to the job sometimes till 9,
Depending on where it's at till 9.
depending on
And I
where it's
normally
at.
express that to the customers,
Have
not
have
between.
you have you considered just having them go right to the job, or is it a ride issue for some guys?
It's a ride issue for 2 of the guys. So, we have a large enough truck to where, they can
Yeah,
obviously ride comfortably.
gotcha. So going forward, in the event that happens, there's a really cool app called it's QuickBooks Time now, where actually all my guys have it, and essentially they just clock in on their phone when they get to the shop. They would do this. Right. So in other words, like, yeah, collectively, you might say, okay, well, the guys didn't get to the job until 9 o'clock, but you can hold that one person accountable that didn't get to the shop. Because here's the thing, if 3 guys are getting there at 7:45 and one guy's getting there at 8:15, that's not fair to the other 3.
No.
So
Yeah.
I definitely recommend that. And it's not pointing out your brother, it's pointing out anyone that comes into your business to say everyone's responsible for their own self. They're not going to hurt the collective, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree 100% with you.
It's a really cool app. So essentially what it does is it tracks their location on their phone. And as soon as they get to where you want them to go, they have to click the button and that clocks them in. And whoever's in the office can see that.
What's the name of that?
It's called QuickBooks Time.
Okay. I just taking
a
note.
It used to be, yeah, take a note there. It used to be called T-Sheets.
Okay.
So
I'm
that's an
gonna.
area. Yeah, man, because I think there's got to be some sort of individual accountability. I like that you have the GPS on the van, but that doesn't help you pinpoint any individual issues. Would you agree?
I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
So you got that. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I think that's an issue that can be worked out, especially if, it's your brother. I think he would want that opportunity. Anyone would. You seem like a great business owner. What's the plan for you, man? When you look 5 years down the line, what are you trying to achieve here?
So, my ultimate plan is, I don't tell a lot of people this, but I work 2 full-time careers. So,
What?
yeah, man, it's pretty tiring.
What do you do?
So I'm actually a full-time police officer as well.
Oh my goodness, no way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a K9
So
handler.
wait,
So
no way. So you're a police officer during the day, and then you run this business. You are incredible.
I am crazy. So it's just crazy how it all started. But I've been in law enforcement for about 13 years now. And
so on your off days, you go full all in on the painting business.
yeah, and
So
so
you have got to have a lot of trust when you're not there.
I have to have a lot of trust in Mike. He keeps
Mike.
He's my
So
lead, so he keeps
the guy.
Yes.
So essentially, he's operating the way you would when you're not on the job.
Absolutely correct. And so we don't, the way that my schedule allows, because of my position, I only work maybe 12 days a month. And so that gives me a lot of freedom to still, show up to job sites, check on the job, the jobs, do my estimates, things of that nature. So.
Right. That's huge, man. I love that. But I love the balance. And you had to learn that by default. I coach a lot of people who don't know how to let go. Like you had to. I mean, it's like if you don't let go of some areas of your business and kind of get to a point where, that Mike can be in charge, you're on your way. All you've got to do is duplicate what's already working. Don't reinvent the wheel. Just duplicate it and perfect it, right?
Okay.
I think getting to a point, and this is because this is how I run my business, 2 crews of 4, especially because you're in Florida, and I know your clientele is very similar to mine. 2 crews of 4 is such a sweet spot, man.
Really?
It's such a sweet spot. It is, because right now, if you look at your expenses in your business, of course, you have your labor costs, you have, obviously your paint, but then you have what's called overhead. I'm sure you pay for that shop, you pay for some advertising, you're paying for insurance. You got, I don't know if you have a truck payment. Do you have a truck payment or is it paid off?
Yes, we got a truck payment.
Truck payment, insurance. So all of that job cost and all of that overhead comes from what that one team can produce. When you have 2 teams, that overhead cost gets cut in half and divided between both generating cash flows.
That's very smart. Yes.
Right. So essentially, that's just going to open up the door for you for a little more profit, a little more room for growth. Now, what you do with that profit is, of course, rewarding those who have gotten you to that point through raises or bonuses, but then again, rewarding yourself, starting to really feel like you're getting ahead financially, which right now, there's only a small pie and everyone's trying to get a piece of it. And I think that may be what's happening, because I know with 4 guys in a capacity in Florida, chances are you're generating between $5,500 and $7,000 in a week production. Is that true?
You hit the nail on the head. Yep.
Just about. And some weeks are 55 and some weeks are $7,000. Chances are, that's because of maybe it's a full interior and we didn't sell it for what we wanted to sell it for. Or maybe it's an exterior and it took an extra day, or so on and so forth. So let's talk about how you're pricing your jobs. What are you doing to price jobs?
So when I price my jobs, I use 3 tools, but 2 main tools. I use my measuring wheel and I use a laser. And I basically walk me through an interior estimate. Let's say I have a 2,000 square foot house and I want the walls done. What does that process look like? If I call Masters Painting, they come over and they give me a quote. So I get in and I still like to use my measuring wheel. And I understand that, it's just walls. So I take that into consideration. So whatever, I get as far as the number from my measuring wheel, if it's all full.
So can I ask you a question before you go any further? So you measure the entire house with your measuring wheel?
I may use my laser depending on how large the house is.
How long does that usually take you? About 10 or 15 minutes?
Yes, sir. About 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
All right. So continue.
Okay, and then of course, if I do use my wheel, I'll still get my height, because I need my height. I'll get that, of course, with my laser.
Okay.
And then, let's just say I get, I end up getting, 1875 instead of, whatever the square footage I get. And then I have a set price that I charge with baseboards, if it's, high ceilings, things of that nature. But my set price interior.
How did you come up with that set price?
So I basically just, as I bid against other, established painting companies, I was just very honest with other customers and asked, could I see their bids? And that's how I did it.
I like the survival technique, but I don't like the strategy. Why?
Okay.
Because if your price never changes, the variables around your price change and you start making less money over time. For example, did you see that little thing on the Sherwin-Williams receipt that says 4% surcharge?
Yes.
So you can't keep your price the same, because guess what? you've got to raise your prices, and you've got to understand that, hey, there's different costs that are involved that change. For example, if you were a construction company during the time where wood was extremely expensive,
Right.
would you keep your price the same just to do it?
No, you gotta
You'd
raise
get
them up.
crushed. Same
Yeah.
thing with your employees. Have you given any raises in the last year, 2021?
I did. Everybody, I think all 4 guys got at least
When you
$1.25
gave your
raise.
raise, did you adjust that set pricing?
I did because
Good.
I did know that, hey,
You knew
I'm
you
not gonna
had to
eat
at
this.
that point.
Yes, sir.
All right, so all right, so you get to that point. You got your laser. You're measuring the wall height. You got you wheeled the whole time. You're sweating at this point because you just ran around the whole house. Okay, so what happens from there, Preston?
So what I would traditionally did before I was introduced to Dripjobs is I would offer the customer, I would say, hey, do you guys prefer an email or a handwritten estimate? Because I know some people like to keep stuff in their hand, especially the older,
Right.
customers. And if they requested a handwritten estimate, I would get my measurements, get their information. If I didn't already have it, which, I probably did, and I go out in my truck and I do my calculations, and I would, pretty much write, fill in our already created estimate form, and then I would present it to the customer.
Okay. So when you present it to the customer, how does that typically go? Walk me through that. So you're outside, you're working up your quote, and you're coming in. What does that look like?
So traditionally, that looks like, and that's something that I was hoping that I would learn over time from you, or somebody coaching, the company, is I always offered a 3. I told you I always offered at least 3 different options, based off of what the customer needs were. And those 3 different options, let's just say we would offer an emerald, a duration, and a super paint for the interior.
Have you
The reason
thought
that
about what we talked about the other day?
Oh, yes, this is before.
About narrowing it down to 1 because they don't care?
Yes, and to be honest, I was just afraid to do that because I felt as though people like to have a choice. But when you said that the other day, I haven't had any coaching. I've had, by the grace of God, I've had to learn all of this through, YouTube, TVs, and and podcasts. So I haven't had anyone to coach me. Everything I've had to learn on my own, even the sales tactics. So that's why I offered, the.
And I'm here, and I want to refine this because you have. First of all, I love what you're doing, and thank you for your service as a police officer.
My pleasure.
Second,
I enjoy it.
I love that you're providing jobs, right? And you're balancing this out. You're figuring it out on your own. You took what your dad started as a one-man show, probably just painting for survival, and you're turning it into a brand, maybe something that you can pass down one day, or they can provide for you for a long time. And the strategies of which I'm going to share with you are my strategies that I learned in my business, to where I can sit in front of you today and relax while, and normally it's while my team's working, but I gave them the whole week off. They have a whole paid week off this week. They're relaxing with their families, and that's on the company dollar, man, and we took them out to dinner, had a big family dinner.
Really?
I have 12 employees. Oh yeah. And then they got paid. They got paid that, and I gave them cash bonuses. So this is what you could do for your team when you get the numbers right,
Yes, sir.
and you create that high morale. So let's talk about it. Let me tell you what I see wrong in this strategy. First of all,
please do.
I'm going to introduce to you what's called the 595 rule. Okay. That's my rule when it comes to estimating. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If you were to give me a percentage of how much time you spend focusing on the job specific details when you do an estimate versus focusing on the customer needs, wants, and desires, what would you tell me that is? And by the way, I'm referring to all the time you're taking to measure and use your laser and all that versus how much time you're actually getting to know the customer. Tell me what the variation, tell me what the split is in percentages.
So that's a good question. I would say it's probably 70% me, 30% getting,
so essentially, exactly. So essentially, when you get to the house, it's, what do you want done? Okay, let me do my thing. I'm going to go do what I do, and I'll get with you when I'm done. That's been your process up until this point.
Well, I've taken, the time to learn or try to, take some, they actually make you pay for some of these things, but listening to like door-to-door salesman tactics and things of that nature. And so I try to, if I can, I try to identify with something with the customer. Whether if I see a fishing rod and I know I like to fish, or I remember one time a customer had a kid that attended an art school. I saw their uniform, like a music school. I attended an art school, so I was able to identify with that kid.
So what you're doing is you're building what's called rapport. You're building rapport there. That's a good strategy, but it's very general. It's like, oh, you like to fish, I like to fish, and it's that small talk, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's good. But that's not what I'm referring to, because as you're doing that, you're still focused on your 15-minute measuring process. That's still it takes a lot of time. 15 minutes, you're in their house, you're measuring, you're trying to write it down, you're sweating. It's like one of those things that I used to do. And I learned that I don't need to do that. Why? Because I know the house is 2,000 square feet and they want the whole house done. Right? I can look that up on Zillow. I just punch in their address and I can look up what the square footage is. Why do you need to know wall space? Preston, you've been doing this long enough. How many gallons of paint would it take you to paint a 2,000 square foot house walls only?
10, but maybe 13.
What are you measuring for? You don't need to. So the 595 rule is my strategy. And essentially, I only spend 5% of my time doing anything project related in the estimate process. 95% of my time is talking to the customer about their specific wants, needs, and desires, about why they want me to come out there, what's important to them, what's stopping them from moving forward today, and actually showcasing our estimate. Because all that stuff is irrelevant. Because again, like we just discussed, I just eliminated you having to measure anymore. You don't even need to bring that measuring wheel in there. You need to go walk around the house with them, let them show you things that are of concern. And this is where you start asking the right questions. So again, like I said, how many gallons? You said 10 to 15 at the most?
Yeah, at the most. Yes, sir.
How much are you paying per gallon?
It depends.
Cashmere.
Okay, so we're running cashmere. I think I'm at $34.
No one cares. No one cares about emerald or duration. They want middle of the road, something that's washable. I've painted so many houses, brother. One person, maybe two, have asked me for emerald. And then I convinced them to do cashmere. So
I'm just laughing because this is good for me. So
good. So $35, $40 a gallon, right? 10 gallons. How much is that in paint cost?
So you're talking about maybe $450 with tax.
$450. Lock that number in, $450. Okay. So I already know off the bat. All right, that's going to be $450. This house, 2 coats, no crazy obstruction. So that's easy. So let's talk about what we say to the customer. Now, here's the thing. What I'm really trying to help you do is to sell jobs more consistently and for a higher amount of money. So there's more profit there. So you can make better decisions with your resources that you get. And it's an easy decision to hire you. Okay. And it's important for you to know these margins. Okay. Have you ever job costed before? Have you ever looked back on the expenses of a specific job to see exactly how much money you've made?
No, not recently.
So that's a really good thing. And I actually have a job costing spreadsheet that I would love to give to you that'll allow you to do that. So you would plug in how many hours each person worked. Okay. And then you could also see how much paint you spent by looking at Sherwin-Williams online and seeing what invoices were purchased for that job. So once you plug in those 2 numbers, you can say, hey, look, I made this much money on this job, or hey, I underbid this job. It's really important. All right. So let's talk about what we asked the customer real quick. Okay. So if I came to your house, this is how I would do it. I'd knock on your door and say, hi, I'm Tanner with Premium Painting. Hand them my business card. And I'd say, so what's the story? Now, I know they want interior painting, but I want to know why they want interior painting, right?
Right.
So have you ever heard this reason before? Okay. This reason as to why. Oh, well, we just want to freshen up the walls the kids moved out. Okay.
All the time.
All the time. So here's the thing. And I'm going to explain to you why this question is so important. It's going to change the way you sell jobs forever. Okay. Let's say you didn't ask that question. And you go about your business, going and doing the estimate like you do right now, going to do the measurements, and doing all the small talk and all this, and you're operating at a certain pace. And then you say, okay, well, would you like a paper estimate, or would you like me to email it? What works for you? Which I think you should completely avoid that question. And it should be kind of like how a restaurant is they tell you how it goes. You don't ask them how it goes, because this is your process and you're leading the way, and they want to feel that you have everything under control. So they're going to be like, well, I guess I'll take a paper estimate, or you can email it, right? So we don't want that anymore. You direct the sale. So then here's how it goes. Let's say you were doing what you were doing, and you went in there and you started measuring and talking about how great duration is and how long you've been in business and how great your team is, and in the small talk. But the guy is kind of, saying, all right, well, how soon can you get it done? And you say, all right, well, I have to look at my schedule and all this. And you go out to the car and you come back in and you start doing your presentation, and you offer him his 3 different categories. You say, well, I could do emerald for you, or duration, it'd be this price, and all this. And he goes, well, listen, we're just getting ready to sell this thing. Right. So you completely sold in the wrong direction there, because you didn't know that ahead of time. Right? If you didn't ask the right question, you didn't know the desire behind the paint job. Why? Because if you knew that he was selling, instead of talking about all that other stuff like duration and emerald and how long you guys been in business and how great your team is, you could have been focusing on the thing that he cares about most. As soon as you got in the door, if you would have asked that question, hey, how long, or hey, how come, or why do you want the job done? And he'd say, oh, well, we're getting ready to sell. And right off the bat, he knows you're going to do a good job because he called you. Chances are they do a little research ahead of time. You would be like, oh, perfect. So if everything goes well, we would probably actually be able to get this taken care of next Monday. I know I have an opening. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Do you understand? Now
Yes,
that's what he cares about. That's what Joe cares about. Stacy said that her kids moved out. That's the lady that you tell about the great paint that, will last a long time, and the color consultation that you plan to help her out with, and how great Mike is, the crew leader, who's going to come and shake her hand when he gets there on day one, and the team comes in in a brand new van that you guys just purchased, that you're really excited about, that has your logo on it, and how we're going to make sure that when we come in, we're going to put some paper down on the floor. That's what Stacy cares about. Joe, he wants to get his house sold, and he needs to do it quick.
Makes sense.
So you've got to identify the different motivations behind why people want the work done. Here's another example. Something you probably heard before. HOA is making me paint. Have you heard that one?
Yes, a lot.
Okay. How excited are they about spending money? 1 to 10.
Probably 2.
They probably would have done it if they valued getting their house painted before the HOA got to them, right?
Yes.
So how would we focus our conversation with that person? Well, I would say, well, hey, listen, I know this wasn't something you planned for. First thing I got to let you know is that we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again by ensuring that we use a great product that holds up for a really long time. So this is a good investment. So essentially I'm helping them understand why this is a good investment. Now, I know that the HOA is on your back, and I don't want you to get fined or anything. So we can expedite this job. If you allow me to earn your business today, I could probably get you on the schedule for next week. How's that sound? Again, there's different ways that we have to showcase our value. If we walk into a house, generally speaking, we're going to get general results. Does that make sense?
It does. And traditionally, I'm thinking, back, and I'm just very general. So that's probably why.
So there's a motivational speaker I like. His name's Zig Ziglar. He says that you're either going to be a walking generality or a meaningful specific. He said that's the only 2 types of ways that you're going to, exist. And in this capacity, we want to do everything as a meaningful specific in terms of the time that we knock on that door to the time we collect the check. Everything's got to be thought through. We know all the variables ahead of time, so we can position ourselves as salespeople to advocate the right value based on those variables. So we talked about a few of them. You have people that are selling their home. You have people that live in their home that are staying. We have people that are dealing with the HOA, right? We have people that are moving into their home. Have you ever had someone call you and say, hey, we're getting ready to buy a house?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And how do you handle that? Let me ask you, if I called you right now and said, Preston, I'd love to get a painting estimate. We're getting ready to close on a house in 3 weeks. What is your response to me?
So my response is, first of all, I want to schedule an estimate as soon as I can, or get numbers to them as soon as I can and let them know, hey, we can get this done. It's easier for us to get the painting done before you move any furniture in.
See, you're already doing it. You already understand that that's what's important to them. So that's great.
Yes,
so
sir.
you know that, hey, we need to get in there before you move in. How can I get the estimate to you? So how would you do that? How would you get them an estimate if they can't get into the house in 3 weeks?
At that point, I'm more than likely just,
2,000 square foot house, Preston. Yeah. Come on. We talked about this, right? You already know how much paint you're going to need. With houses that are for sale, you could go online and look at every single picture of that house, right? See that?
You're right.
And then guess what? You know your team. How many days would it take your team of 4 to paint a house, 2,000 square feet, walls only?
2.5 tops. 2.5 days.
So
tops.
You know the variables, you know the costs ahead of time. So now all you got to do is make it easy for that customer. And here's how I do it. I say, listen, as much as I'd love to come there, I don't want to waste any time doing that, because if we're going to do this, we want to line this up to where we start right as soon as you close so you can get moving with your other projects. I can quote this job by looking at the pictures online. Are you comfortable with that? And they go, absolutely. Okay, absolutely. And I say, listen, I know that sometimes deals fall through. In the event that your deal falls through, we'll happily refund your deposit. How does that sound? Perfect, Tanner. And what I do is I look online, look at the photos, come up with a paint cost, come up with my labor cost, and send them a quote based on those 2 variables.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you might
sir.
say, well, how do I come up with that number? Well, we look at margins. So you have set pricing, right? So for example, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
What is everyone getting paid in your business? I don't want their names. Just tell me the hourly rates.
18, 25, 17, 17.50, and 16 and 16.
17.50 and then 16.50. Okay, so you are right now at $77 an hour. Do you have a payroll company that's helping you pay these guys?
Going to Gusto, to answer your question. So we were using going to Gusto because the company that we were using, it was and I could see the information. Did
you hear Gusto from me?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's great. By the way, use the link. It's in the podcast. Have you listened to the podcast before?
Yes, I'm a huge fan. So.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure. So thank you. And there's a link there. Find it, and you get a $150 gift card. So that's just so you know. Okay. Anyway, so where I'm saying that is when we get Gusto and we have workers' comp, you're not going to be at $77 an hour. You're going to be more at $82 an hour because we have to factor in that additional labor cost. So let's say we're at $82 an hour, Preston. Okay.
Okay.
So you said 2.5 days, right?
Right.
So that would mean that each person gets 20 hours. Correct?
Correct.
4 guys, 2.5 days, 20 hours. Now, do you really only give them the 20 hours, or do you like to pay them the whole day no matter what?
No, we
just the 20 hours. If they go home halfway, they're done. Okay, good.
They're done.
So 20 hours, okay? And we're going to multiply that by 3. Or excuse me, by 4. So let's do that. So we got $82 an hour, okay? And we got 3 guys, or 4 guys, right? Times 4.
Yes.
And then we're going to times that by 20. Hold on, let me check that again. 82 times 20 times 4. Hold on, 82 times 8. Okay, so that's 656 a day, okay? And then multiply that by 2, and then we have to divide that by 2. There you go. That's the number I was looking for. So your total labor cost on that job is, you can't see this because my screen blurs, but it's $1968.
Okay.
Okay. So that's your labor cost. And then you said what? Your paint cost would be $450?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I don't even need to see this house as long as it's 2,000 square foot, as long as we know we can get it done in 2.5 days, as long as we know a 2,000 square foot takes about 10 gallons. Our total cost as business owners is $24.18. Okay. So what do we do to come up with a price? We multiply that by 2 to give us a 50% margin. Do you understand how that comes up with a 50% margin?
No, I'm going to be honest with you.
Thank you. Be honest. So 50% margin essentially means that for every dollar that you're spending, you're making 50 cents in excess of that dollar.
Okay.
Okay. So excuse me, you're making $1 in excess of that dollar. So in other words, if you put out $1, you're getting $1 extra in return. So for every dollar that you put out, you're making $1.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So for example, if our costs are $24.18, if we want to operate at a 50% margin, okay, that means that we need to multiply that number by 2 and we need to sell the job for $48.36.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay. So essentially what we do is we take our costs, we find out what our cost is, and we double our cost to make sure that we're operating at what we call a 50% profit margin.
Okay. Okay.
You might be thinking, man, that's a lot of math. Well, I have a calculator that I made and it's free. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that right now. So I'm actually going to open this up here. And I have my calculator. You mind if I show you that real quick?
No, not at all.
So check this out, man. So we got this little calculator here. And if anybody wants this calculator, you just go to sellpaintjobs.com and you can get the calculator for free. And I'm going to show Preston here how we do this. So Preston, do me a favor. Let me know when you can see my screen here. I'm just going to do a quick screen share with you.
Okay.
And you can see that right there. Okay. Do you see that?
Yes. Yeah, I see it now.
You see that? Okay. So here's how this calculator works. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the labor tab here and I'm going to put in the labor that you told me. So you said $18.50, $25 an hour, right?
Yes.
And $16.50, right? And then what was the other one?
No, $16.50. They're both making the same.
Okay, we got two 1650s, and I'm going to zero out these other ones here. Okay, zero out, zero out, zero out. And you don't have to do this every time. Once you do it once in the calculator, it saves it. And then what did I say? So we were at a 76.5 at a 10% workers' comp. That puts us at about $84 an hour.
Okay.
Okay. So I know you're in Florida, so ours is going to be the same. It's about $14.50 for workers' comp plus employer taxes. So we need to be pricing out our jobs if everyone's sticking together at about $88 an hour. Okay. All right. So all we do is we go to this interior tab. Can you see this? Okay.
Yes.
And if you zoom in on your phone, you should be able to see this a little closer. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. So what does this say here? Square footage, right?
Square footage. Yeah.
So I'm going to change this to 2000. So this is what you're doing in your car, 2000. And then you said that it would take your team 20 hours, right? So everyone gets 20 hours. So where it says labor hours, we just put in 20 hours, just like that.
Okay.
And then you said what? 10 gallons at $45 a gallon, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when I scroll down here, look what it tells me. For this project, okay, based on our data here of 20 labor hours and 10 gallons, it's going to cost us $2,200 as a business owner to have the job done. Right now, real quick, let's look at this. So we have a 2,000 square foot house, but we can't just say, hey, customer, it's going to be four grand. We want to say, hey, this is how we came up with your price. Like that's why you measure, right? So you could say, okay, well, this is how many linear feet and all this. You don't need to do that anymore. If you're doing full houses, you just need square footage. Maybe they don't want a bedroom done. Measure the bedroom and subtract it, right? So subtract it from what you know the floor space is. Okay. Save yourself the time. So watch this. If I were to quote your job, I would say, okay, Preston, you have a 2,000 square foot house. Now I need to tell you how much I'm charging you per square foot. So I'm going to zero out the ceiling option, zero out the trim option, zero out the door option. Now, if I were to charge you $1.50 a square foot, Preston, that would be $3 grand, right?
Okay.
So if I charge you $3 grand for this job, I'm not making that 50%. I'm making 27%.
Okay.
So that means I need to raise the price on this specific job. Watch. I'm going to change this to $1.75. Now I'm at $3,500. Am I making 50%? What am I making?
No, 37.
37. Okay. I got to raise it up. I got to charge you $2 a square foot, Preston. Look at this. $4 grand. Am I making 50% yet?
Sir, you're at 45.
45. Not yet. So I need to go to maybe 210 or 220. That's 4,400. Am I making 50% there?
Now you're at 50.
Now I'm at 50%. Look at my profit, 21.98, right about exactly how much I'm spending. I'm getting that in return in excess of what I'm spending. Does that make sense?
Very smart. That makes a lot of sense now that I can see it.
Right. So what if you throw this curveball at me? What if you say, Tanner, I want the ceiling painted? Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yes. Yes,
And
yes,
then
yes.
it throws you into a chaos wormhole because you're like, okay, well, how do I price this out? How do I know if I'm making money? This calculator will save you. Okay. So first of all, we've got to recognize that with just walls, we're at 50%. So in other words, we don't want to take on another project and lose profit margin over the course of the job. We got to stay at 50% if we sold the job at 50%. So we got to be able to make sure that happens. So watch this. Okay. So first of all, for this 2,000 square foot house, how much more paint would we need to do the ceiling?
Probably need, well, if they're running like dead flat or whatever, you need at least another
Dead
7
flat.
to 10 gallons. Probably,
Another 7 to 10 gallons. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 7 here, and we're going to keep the average price per gallon. We're going to put 17 here now, and we're going to keep the average price per gallon 45. So we're kind of overestimating our paint costs in this scenario. Okay.
Yeah.
So our cost for paint went up. Now your guys, how much more time is it going to take them now? Does it add an entire other day on the job?
Yes. At least another full day to run six.
All right. Another 8 hours for each person, right?
Yes.
So now guess what? We got to change this to 28. So that means that they're working 3 full days, 24 hours, and then 4 days on the 4th day.
Right.
Okay. So we have now factored in our labor and our paint. Now watch this. Look at our margin now. If we didn't charge anything for the ceiling, look, we're at 27% now.
So we lost some money.
Well, we didn't charge anything yet. So now we got to charge them for it. Okay. So now we go to this ceiling thing right here. You see this?
Yes, sir.
And we need to change that to a dollar amount. So let's charge them $1 per square foot. Okay. So what is $1 per square foot on a 2,000 square foot house?
$2,000.
$2,000. So let's see what our margin is now. Look at that. We're back at 50%.
That's pretty sweet.
You see that? So now we have to charge that customer $2,000. Now we know, hey, in order for us to do this, it's $2,000.
Right.
So they can add whatever they want as long as we adjust our costs. We factor in that and we come up with a price that ensures that we stay at the same margin that we were originally.
Okay, that makes sense. So now
you feel me?
Yes, sir.
So I think this is going to help you tremendously.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't even realize this existed.
Well, it's really cool, and I use it all the time. And actually, there's over 1,000 painting contractors that have downloaded this and use it. So it's a really good tool.
Is this something? Is this like a application I can put on my phone?
It's an app on your phone. Yeah, it's an app on your phone. So I'll send you the link after this, and you can download it. So it's really cool, and you can add trim and so on and so forth. So I gave you a lot today, Preston, my man. And real quick, while I'm here. So I just want to show you in Dripjobs, what you would do is you would actually go to your sales pipeline here. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And you'd hit new proposal right here. And for example, I think I have you in here still. Yep, I got you. So I'm going to use you, and we're just going to start a proposal. And I'm going to show you how we price it out based on what our calculator says. So for example, I'm going to hit add line item, and I'm going to go here to walls. See how we have that? I gave you that wall template the other day.
Yeah.
See that? We're going to change that to 2,000 square feet like this. And then guess what? Remember we said that our walls have to be $2.20.
Right.
So now what does that say? 4,400. Save. And then look at this. We got to go to our ceiling and 2,000 square feet. And we have to charge what? $1. Look at our price that we show the customer, 6,400. You see that?
So essentially that's pretty cool. It's really cool.
Now look at this. Remember we said that our total price is 6,400. That protects us at a 50% margin as long as the team gets it done in the 3.5 days. And we use 17 gallons at $45 a gallon, which could be more or less, just as long as we spend no more or less than our paint cost that we allocated of $765.
Correct. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That's why job costing is important on the back end of this. So we can go back and look and say, hey, did we actually profit how we thought we would on this job?
Right.
So that's the other side of pricing is job costing.
This is, I mean, I'm learning a lot.
Great. That's what I was hoping to hear, man. That was what I was here. All right. So listen, I gave you a lot of stuff. I'm going to send you an email with some stuff, get you the calculator. I'll get you the job costing app. Thank you for checking out Dripjobs. I think that's going to be tremendous in what you're trying to build, especially because you're doing two things at once. So I appreciate you, my friend.
That's not long-term goal. So I'm praying, within the next 5 years, when I get closer to 20 years, I can, do this fully.
It's not a matter of if. Just let's make that clear. It's a matter of
yes, sir.
It's just stay consistent and be a student of the game. I tell people this: you got to be a student of the game, and the game in business is numbers. Numbers to most people are not fun. I hated algebra. I hated trigonometry. I didn't even take trigonometry. I took it for 2 days and I dropped the class in college. I am not a math guy, but when it comes to applicable math, real world math, numbers, money, margins, these sort of things, I can get excited about that. Why? Because I can put inputs and get outputs. I can test things, and I can give raises, and I can try different pricing margins, and it excites me when I win in that world. And that's something to get you excited about, because if you do it right, you could free yourself literally. So this is the game that you should be a student of for sure.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree with you.
Well, we have a refresher session on Dripjobs in about a week, so I'll check in with you then. Thank you, Preston, for your time, my friend.
Hey, good luck and God bless. Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. See ya.
All right. See you.
Hey, I just want to take a second to thank you for joining me here on the Contractor Secrets podcast. I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know that my passion is coaching people, helping people. I've changed my Instagram name to @contractorcoach. And I did that because that is my passion. I want to help you. So please reach out to me. If you have an issue going on in your business, send me an email, find me on Instagram, message me, and let's do a breakthrough session. I want to work through your problems in your business to help you get to that next level. And one thing that I always say is this, the difference between those that get over the humps and the hurdles in business is just a change in perspective. And that's what I plan to offer you. So get with me, message me, allow me to help you take your business to the next level.